Okay, welcome to our book review, and this is from Blackjack Comics and Phantom Hawk issue number one, which is the debut. Okay, um, now for those, now the one thing that kind of got me was the price here, $5. Now, um, for me, the advent of so for me, paying $5 or $6 for a single issue, no, I'm not that kind of person. And then these days at times, I still find it not worth that kind of money uh, for that. Even for me, when it went up to $3, I was saying it's not worth it. But I know for independents, they do charge that because of printing costs and everything, and they still because they for you in order to try to break even or even just have something on the shelf, you still I think a lot of them still tend to do a large print run. Um, I know for us personally, we do anywhere from as few as 25 on up to 100 and let it go. We don't mind going back and reprinting. Okay, and especially these days of times now with printing services going through the digital places like Drive Through or Comixology, print on demand, those costs for printing come way down. So now, if I were since I'm a publisher, and we went that route, I would forward those savings on to my readers. You know, but for him, he has a good reason for doing what he's doing. So I'm not criticizing it or anything, but you know, it is what it is. From here, you can see, and if you, as an English review, if you like what you see, you want more of what Nick Dapper does or anything, the link is www.blackjackcomics.net, not .com, .net. So those are not, okay, sorry about that. So here, the story is created and illustrated by Nick Dapper. For me, the art here is very, to me, I like it. It's old school. And obviously it's computer colored. It has a nice touch to it. Give me a almost a look for motion comics actually. The way this book is colored and everything, I would expect certain comics like this to come out and just leave or something like that. So it's real nice. Um, everything is simplistic, but everything here, the mood, color, gives you a sense of foreboding, dark, everything. But so far so good. Here, what's happening is your hero Phantom Hawk here is an ex-government employee of North Carolina. What's probably happened here is he looks like he's working for a government contractor. He's working one night and he sees something strange on his monitor and he goes to check it out and he thinks it's indicative of advertising and then it looks like he a terrorist attack on a government facility. Um, he is charged with the crime, obviously, and he's escaping. Now he's been on land for the last 6 months. And right now, what it seems like is these nanotubes that are in his body are visiting certain abilities. One of which looks like it gives him the ability to, excuse me, to interface with computers with just his mind. Okay. And with this, what he does is also is kind of making his own and slowly learning more and more how to do it. And so right now he's trying to find
Oh, Captain Eric, I loved you so much, but you killed me. Why?
They have to pay. They must pay. The bastards must pay. They have to pay. Those bastards. They must pay.
Okay, listeners and viewers, welcome to Lip Service number 8. And, well, actually number 9. Well, actually, it's probably about 20 something after all this. So, for those of you who don't know, Lip Service is the show about comics. Okay, and I know some of you might say, big deal. Okay, well, what makes us unique is this. We deal with the independents, the ones who don't have the corporate wherewithal and a big huge media machine to make it all worthwhile. And it's our job here at Lip Service to get their word out to your ears, to your eyes, and to show that the medium is actually worth looking at. It's more than just beyond the blockbuster movies that you see. But if it weren't for the comic books, you wouldn't be watching Avengers. You wouldn't be watching Amazing Spider-Man's umpteen inversions. Okay. And also, this show is sponsored by C2E2. They are, once again, our sponsors just before the ramp up of C2E2 here in Chicago, Illinois, April 24th through the 26th, 2015 at McCormick Place. And the other good thing is now you can get tickets directly from us. Not for free, but you can get tickets from us. So somewhere down below, you'll see a little banner and a link to where you can go get where you can go get tickets through us. So when your favorite comic book shop actually runs out, guess what we can do for you? We can get you the hookup. Okay. And so doggone it. And so right now, of all times, really, hold on one second. I gotta see this. I don't believe this. Okie dokie. Wow. Of course, they don't know our time schedule. And today, our guest is actually Phil Juliano of Best in Show Comics. So, Phil, welcome to Lip Service.
Thank you, Rod. I'm glad to be here.
Okay. So, what got you started in comics in the first place?
I could pinpoint that to a specific comic book, Savage Sword of Conan number 107.
Haha.
It has a Kyo cover and Ernie Chan pencils and inks.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I saw it, man, I was just
in love.
Enchanted. That was it. I couldn't stop.
Okay.
So yeah, man, that's where the whole comic influence comes from. And as I do comic strips now, I've kind of transitioned to comic strip art. The inspiration there came from owning a dog, man. With the dog came all these crazy experiences, and I just had to write about them and draw about them, and that led to the comic strip as it is today.
Okay, yeah, animals, and believe me, I know animals tend to do that to you. They kind of drive you. They drive you through, put you through one end and bring you through the other. So believe me, I know all about that one. You know, and for those of you who probably can hear our cat, yeah, he gets involved too. And no, you can't be on TV. So, oh, believe me, if he could, he would. So, with the transition from comic book to comic strip, what are the changes that you had to make to your style?
Well, when I was working, I was producing independent comics with a buddy of mine, Al Durantis, and he was the writer, I was the artist, and I'd follow his scripts, and the scripts, you know, for a comic strip or for a comic book is a good 22, 24 pages long.
Uh-huh.
I have a short attention span, so to kind of stay focused for 24 pages was kind of hard, right? And like I said, when I ended up getting my dog and I started actually writing my own material, I found that for me, the 3-panel setup, the introduction, the setup, and the punchline, it worked perfect for how I thought.
Okay.
So I had to, first of all, transition from like comic book superhero kind of realistic comic art to a more loose and cartoony, almost Disney-esque kind of style, which is how I operate now. But again, that was more difficult than you think, because like there's some professional cartoonists out there that say it's harder to draw with less than to draw with more. You know what I mean? It's
right.
a lot harder to get your point across with fewer lines and simplicity than it is to get all detailed and throw in a whole like 2-page spread with 3-point perspective and girls and spaceships and so yeah, the whole art style, like thinking and scaling things down to 3 panels and making it happen with fewer lines and a looser style and a more fun look,
right.
That's the transition. That's what took the longest.
Okay. And it's funny you should mention that, because one of our former guests, the current artist for Dick Tracy, Joe Stanton. Oh yeah, I mean that interview was phenomenal. I mean to find out that, first of all, Dick Tracy is older than most of the Marvel and DC universe put together, and to only have seriously, I mean he's practically as old as Popeye. And to only have 4 men in that span of almost 80 years to draw that character is phenomenal.
Wow.
That
is impressive.
Yeah, and for those of you who want to hear that interview, you can go to Stitcher.com, which is our new home for the audio version of Lip Service. You can go there, or you can also go to lipservice.kissmecomics.com and you can download it there too. Or you can also download it on iTunes for those of you who got your iPad handy and at the ready. So you can also, like I said, you can go back to earlier episodes and listen. And for those of you who don't know, you might say, well, what's the difference between the podcast and the video? Well, now we got the video. Now, first of all, you can see it, duh. And there's also added content. There will be maybe a book review, added rant, online questions that we may pose to you, our viewers / listeners. And for those of you who might see a question, reply. We'll throw in some kind of goodie, be it a free print, free T-shirt, whatever. We're gonna give you some kind of free swag as a thank you for showing the love and support. So now and you made a good point with having now you got to do more with less. Too bad most stores, when they give you less, they charge you more. Yeah. Oh yeah. So now that you have to, and also you changed your comic style. Now, and my question to you is this, because with a lot of the comics set towards younger kids now, does that style still, I guess the question now is, would that style for 24 pages as opposed to maybe 3 panels, would that, do you feel that could deter from a reading audience?
Well, the art style itself is I think it would be appealing to everybody, because like I said, the followers, my readers and my fans are actually older.
Okay.
Because as though the art style may seem geared towards younger crowds, which it is, because I like to attract as many people as I can.
Right.
The actual content of the comic strip is geared towards adults. I mean, I'm 43, right? And the whole the whole I rebooted, so to speak, my comic strip not too long ago, like earlier last year, like middle last year, and I took it from like a guy my age, and like talking about problems of guys our age and with wives and dogs and pets and friends, and throwing in the odd aliens and Elvises and all kinds of other stuff. I completely I took it back to my childhood.
Okay.
So I had the character. I rebooted it by having the main character go back in time in a refrigerator box time machine that he made, and to go back to get his Star Wars toys. Because, like I said, I'm in my 40s, and I'm thinking about what's it going to be like to retire. And they're like, wow, I wish I had my Star Wars toys because I'm a huge Star Wars fan and blah blah. So I took it back in time, and now I'm like reliving the 70s in my comic strip.
Okay.
So
disco.
Bringing back. Right, I'm bringing back the comics that I used to read in the 70s, and I'm bringing back the toys, and I'm bringing back the experiences and the TV shows and the cartoons, and it's resonating with a whole new demographic. So it's now resonating with people my age, because now they're like, oh man, I remember when Thundar was on TV. Or
oh yeah, Thundar.
I remember having whatever a Huffy bike with yellow mag wheels. I remember when that was a shit. Snowmobile suits. I remember snowmobile suits.
Big wheels.
Yeah, right. Big wheels. And what about the Green Machine, dude?
Stop it.
The two handles that you use to steer.
Oh yeah.
Try to kill kids and stuff. But,
yeah.
The art style, it would attract. It appeals to the younger kids, but the actual writing appeals to the older folks. So I think I get a pretty broad range of readers that way.
Right.
And it's funny you should hit on that on that aspect as well, because and this is what I had to say, most people miss the point about cartoons to begin with. And most of the and I don't understand most of the uproar from the conservative political factions going off the deep end, talking about cartoons are warping this, that, and the other. Cartoons initially were geared towards adults in the first place. If you sit back and look at the classic Bugs Bunny and all those cartoons back in the day, they were geared towards adults. The jokes were adults. Were adult. The references to World War II, Hitler, all that was geared towards adults. It wasn't until certain greedy factions decided, we can make money off of this, that they and also for the most part, your demographic was getting older and probably were drifting away. They shifted towards the younger ones, because 9 times out of 10 they were the ones who would be sitting up there watching TV because the parents needed them to sit still and get them out of their hair for about a couple of hours. So bip, there they go. And then that's when you saw the gradual change come through. And then as that happened, more people said, we can get this demographic up and going, because 9 times out of 10, while they're watching that, they're going to sit still long enough to watch a 30-second commercial. Probably not now, but back in those days they did. And all of a sudden they said, "Mommy, Daddy," and guess what happened? The parent would go either grudgingly or at the be somebody beat down by the kid, would go get the toy or wherever it was, which is so for me, for this wing saying the cartoons need to be education informational, they weren't designed to be that. They were designed to be the escape. To use the imagination, I call it imagination muscle, to be something or somewhere else besides having to go slug through something, and now they wonder why kids need Ritalin and depressants now, go figure. So and it's funny that now with your going back, you have found your audience now. With you rebooting everything, do you feel that you have traded one audience that's giving you the reader, the viewers that you, the readers, and the numbers that you want, versus your future content, future viewers?
I don't think so, because the readers that were following me before, like from what I hear from them, is they really like the transition. They really like the reboot. They really like reading about the main character as a little kid and the dog as a little puppy that goes back in time with him, and they appreciate that, and they can pick up on the passion, because for me, drawing kids is more fun than drawing adults, to be honest, for me. And they can pick up on the change in writing, the passion that they can see in the art and the writing. I mean, it's definitely gotten better, because it's like I said, it's that nostalgia coming back and me wanting to be a kid again, and just bringing out all these emotions, and I pour that into the writing and the art. And the folks that were following me before and enjoyed my work really enjoy it now, because they see how much I'm pouring into it. They can tell the difference in what's coming out.
Okay. And I could truly understand that, you know. And now from that aspect, we already covered the drawing aspect. Now, what about the writing? Because now all of us, because unfortunately, the one thing, like, and you hit upon this, you know, you no longer have 24 pages to get to to literally get to the point. You now have, you know, pretty much a wham bam type situation where you only have maybe 3 to 5 panels to get to your, you know, to get to your punchline, get to your joke. So how much do you have to take out of what you want to do, you know, as far as the writing aspect?
Well, I've been drawing this comic strip for 10 years.
Okay.
I've just updated 10 years, and it's all it's practice and research and just taking feedback. You know, I used to write. I used to be real wordy. You know?
Okay.
I mean, you watch Kevin Smith movies, you realize how wordy he is.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to just. He has a clever idea, and he machine guns it to death, because he just wants it to be so clever that the characters are just spewing these lines over, you know, these that could have been in one sentence. They're like a paragraph. When I come up with an idea, I have to think about how I can present it in as little dialogue as possible. And over the course of 10 years, you kind of figure it out. You know, like I have a lot of professional colleagues, professional cartoonists. I'm a member of the National Cartoon Society, so I have the benefit of being involved with all these other professionals that have been doing it for years.
Okay.
And you know, I've gotten feedback. Been mentored by some. So as a matter of course, you know, just over time, you kind of learn how to cut out the stuff that you don't need to say, and just kind of write just enough to get your point across and to make the punchline pop.
Okay.
I don't think there's a magic technique. It's just a kind of a matter of time. It's like any writer, you know. It's like the more you do it, the better you get at it. The more you know how much to add, to take away. And at this point, I try to write as little dialogue as possible, because the average attention span, or the average amount of time, I think, for reading a cartoon or a comic strip is maybe 8 seconds.
Really?
So you get 8 seconds to get to make your punchline, right?
Wow.
To build it up and to pull the punchline. So yeah, it's been something I've actually been working on. Like you said, it's a muscle. You know, you got the imagination muscle. This is a too that you develop. In this case, instead of making it bigger, you're making it smaller. Right? So yeah, it's something that took a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of tinkering. You know, but it's a process too, and you know, it's always evolving, and it's always changing. But it's just something that I've worked on for a long time, and it's finally getting to the point where I'm able to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's practice. It's all about practice and persistence and all.
Gotcha. And for me, you know, for you've been at this 10 years, and so you're definitely you know not just somebody who's just I would have, not a Johnny come lately by any stretch of the imagination. So, oh, and by the way, viewers, if you are watching and you've got questions for either for Phil or for myself with this show, down at the bottom, you know, or right now if you're watching live, we do have Q&A, so you can jump in and pop in at any given point in time, and we'll answer them right off the top. Or if you have questions for Phil afterwards, when you see the show and you see the comments, you see the commentary down below, put it down there, and we will forward it on to Phil for an appropriate answer. So that way, if you got any questions, and of course some, and down there we will have links for Phil's website if you want to download his web comics, or if you want to email him directly, we'll be able to go ahead and do so. Keep that in mind. And now, so basically throughout this conversation, we've got a brief synopsis of what this main strip is all about. So basically you go back in time to the 70s to recover the lost Star Wars toys. And I'm curious to find out, is the main character named Phil as well?
Well, the character's name is PJ.
PJ.
And his nickname is Peach, short, PJ.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, based on me, because you've read about what you know. But his name is PJ, and the dog Spencer is actually my dog Spencer.
Okay.
And all the characters involved are the people that they are. I've taken some liberties with some names, and of course, some characters are totally contract, but almost everybody in the strip is based on something I know.
Okay, cool. Now this is where I'm gonna have to ask a very kind of tough question here, because your strip sounds familiar to a very popular syndicated strip with a boy and his dog going through adventures. So have you encountered anybody saying, hey, you're ripping off of this particular comic strip? I
have not.
Okay, that's
every comic strip is influenced by something else.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing original. So if you were to go through and look at any comic strip or any comic feature, it's influenced by something else.
Okay.
And there's, I don't know how many comic strips are about a boy and a dog. I guess it's all about how you present it and the material that you present and the storylines and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, no. I mean, there have been, parallels have been drawn to Calvin and Hobbes.
Okay.
And of course there are. I mean, he's one of my biggest influences.
Oh yeah.
Bill Watterson in that comic strip, the most popular and beloved comic strip ever created.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion,
right.
Peanuts being probably the most.
True.
But, so yeah, I mean, there are parallels, of course, but
right.
The characters are still different, and the situations are a little different, and the people involved are different, but they're all universal concepts,
Right. Okay.
Boy going to school. Like, if you read the most recent comic, he's dealing with a bully. Of course there's a bully. I got bullied in school.
Okay.
So now I get to draw, and one of my readers actually suggested that I bring up a bully. And I wasn't really gonna, but he's like, you should bring up a bully and add a bit more conflict and tension.
Right.
And another character to kind of bounce stories off of. I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. So I invented Jimmy Mason, and now Jimmy Mason's stealing little Peach's backpack and, giving him grief and
being a
so I mean, and it just opens up a whole new series of storylines where, if you've been reading also, PJ has a little hand puppet Yoda. that he always talks to in the bathtub. You know?
Okay.
So it's like I get to utilize that tool, you know, the hand puppet Yoda, where little PJ is in the tub, and he asks, well, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with this bully? And of course, Yoda gives him sage advice, and
Right.
you'll see that. I think it's actually Monday's comic, so I'm not going to go too far into it.
Okay.
But,
spoilers.
Yeah, there's that's as far as I'm going to go. He's got his Yoda hand puppet looking for advice.
We have ways of making you talk. Okay. Now for comics, what I've always kind of didn't. This is one of the questions I forgot to ask Joe Stanton when I had the opportunity. What is the actual accepted length of time to run a story arc in a comic strip without going off on a tangent?
I think there's no rule of thumb, but if you are the National Cartoon Society, we have we're broken into regional chapters, you know. And a few years ago, our regional chapter hosted our annual meeting here in Minneapolis, and the guest speaker was Stephan Pastis.
Okay.
And of course, you know Stephan Pastis, Pearl of the Fourth Line.
Right.
He during his presentation, he mentioned that, you know, he doesn't like going more than, say, 3 to 5 maybe comic strips that are in like a story arc. Okay. Because then it gets kind of stale, I guess, because you're just kind of like riding the same horse, and that's kind of how I kind of take that as my, you know, I usually just run out of steam with an idea. So like, you know, if it goes past 3, then it must be a pretty hilarious concept that I can keep riding, you know. But a lot of times, one standout, you know, standalone comics might even be the best, because then if you jump into the comic strip and you just see one, you're not in the middle of a storyline. You're just like, oh, bam, there's your joke. I get it. All right. Right. As opposed to like, oh, wow, I'm in the middle of something. I got to go back and read it. Yeah, so if I were going to say, I'd say, you know, 3 to 5, and then it gets kind of stale.
Okay, 3 to 5.
But you can always come back and revisit. You know,
right.
You can establish an idea or a concept or a character, and then let it go for a while and come back to it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So now, with that being said, I'm trying to find the right words on how to phrase this next question. With your strip now, it's web based, correct?
Predominantly, it does get published in the odd magazine and newspaper. I've self-syndicated it for a little bit, and it actually gets distributed through McClatchy News Services.
Okay, cool.
Chicago. So, it is technically syndicated, but you know, it's also, you know, predominantly a web comic. So
okay, so
like straddle both worlds there.
Hey, and then nothing wrong being in between, as long as you ain't a rock and a hard place.
Right.
You know.
But I have complete creative freedom. Like, I can do whatever the heck I want with it.
Right.
You know, it's not like I'm governed by a syndicate with, you know,
right.
Guidelines or whatever. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Well, yeah, that's okay.
So that, you know.
Right. Well, have you ever thought about one of taking your strip and doing like what Kevin Hobbs, like the creator for Kevin Hobbs has done? Put it all together and put it in a nice trade paperback and push it out there. Have you thought about doing that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually putting together a 10th anniversary edition now.
And
it's within financial constraints. You know, I got to figure out how best to do it or how best to publish it. And I've decided to put together like a 10th anniversary edition that'll have, your standard narratives. You'll have timelines. There'll be some guest pinups. I'll have some introductions by some of the people who were there in the beginning, and testimonials from people who support it and whatever. So what I plan on doing is it'd be like 10 years, the best of. So it'd be like the best 10 comics from year 1, best 10 comics from year 2.
Okay.
And so forth.
Got it.
And with my website all over it, so that if you want to read everything,
right.
Bam, you go back to my website. But this is something that, for me personally, I'm able to fund and put together and get it out there and distribute it to most of the comics, the collections that I do,
right.
I distribute at comic shows. I like to do comic book conventions. I meet a lot of my fans there, and I get to push my work and hawk my wares and
right.
That's
true. I totally understand that. And so now, and it's funny that you bring that up. So how do you, I don't know if you have seen the grumblings as of late from certain ones within the comic book world that have been griping about cosplayers disrupting their sales flow / sales and blah blah blah, that they should be banned from coming to comic book conventions, period. With you already having a fan base, do you feel that having other I wouldn't even call them distractions, but that having something outside of like the cosplayers, do you feel that hurts you, or does that help you, or no opinion?
Quite honestly, it doesn't really affect me or my sales. What is annoying is that they'll come through and they'll like look at stuff, but they don't buy anything because they don't have pockets. They don't have pockets. What are they gonna do? So they just walk around and they kick the tires, so to speak. But they don't. I can see overall the growing number of cosplayers and how they may be a distraction, but personally, like for what I do in my sales, it doesn't really affect me.
Right.
As a matter of fact, over the past, like last year, 2014, it was a big Comic Con year. So I made it a point to go to as many Comic Cons within my regional area as I could.
Right.
And they're cosplayers at each one, and I've done better and better at. So it's like, quite honestly, they don't affect me whatsoever.
Okay. I understand that.
That'd be cool, but
right.
It don't affect me whatsoever.
True, and and that goes back to a previous rant that I made in a couple of episodes past. And for you all want to hear it, go back. It's in there. I do believe it's episode 6 or 7 where I did a rant on or actually it's probably the one, probably about 6 or 7, where I did a Akira and ranted on these people complaining. So now with you being a comic strip and everything, and this is one question that just came to me while we were talking. It's easy for a comic book publisher to understand whether or not the particular issue is being successful, because they can derive from the distributor, and I said distributor, Diamond, because you're the only one out there practically, actual numbers as to what's going on. So how do you, with a comic strip, especially web-based, determine what your impact and your viewership off the top when you put your strip out there? how do you know how do you figure that, okay, this particular strip is doing great or this particular arc is doing great versus something else? Where do you get your numbers from?
I have a stat counter plugin in my website.
Uh-huh.
So I have it tracks how many page views there are.
Okay.
So I put out my comic strip Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and of course my numbers will spike Monday, Wednesday, Friday because I put it out on Twitter, I put it out on Facebook, and then there's the regular people that go to the website and view it on the website. So so I have a hit counter, and that's how I know when how each one does.
Okay.
And I know which ones do well, which ones not so well, but at least I know how many people looked at it, and I can even tell where they've looked at it from and all that.
Right.
Pretty detailed, but
okay.
It gives me an idea how many people are looking.
Right.
Or reading. Yeah.
Okay, and that makes sense. So now the other thing I have I have a very good question here. Now, it's obviously for a comic book publisher, you sell the book, boom, there it goes. Now, for you, with your being more so web-based, I know part of it is your revenue basically coming from the conventions, or do you also generate some kind of revenue from your from the traffic coming through your website and people reading your comic and reading your web comic?
At this point, most of my revenue comes from FaceTime when I'm at a comic show. I'm not anywhere near as popular as like PvP or Penny Arcade, where those guys get just hundreds of thousands of hits a day.
Right.
So I'm still earning every page view, and I'm earning every sale. So when I'm at the comic shows, that's where I get the payoff. Is
right.
I sell my original artwork, or if I sell the collections or whatever. I mean, I'm pretty diverse.
Okay.
Because the comic strip is one avenue or one income stream, I guess you can call it. Because the bulk of my work is done through freelance cartooning and illustration and all that.
Okay.
And my comic strip, it gets funded enough that I can keep doing it.
Right.
I get syndicated through McClatchy Tribune, and
right.
I get money for that, and then I got Patreon. We'll add that later. I got Patreon page, and I have Google ads on my website,
right?
Stuff like that. 99% of the income,
right,
is face-to-face sales. Yeah.
Okay, and therein lies. And it's funny that you should mention that, because this is one of the things that I have been, for me, everybody's talking about web comics, and I'm not saying they don't have that place, because they do, and it does reduce the cost of actually producing a comic, so on and so forth. And of course, now with your with places like Drive-Through Comixology, now you also got the print on demand, so that doesn't, so yeah, you can there is a different model and everything, but the disconnect is, like you said, face to face. I'm old-fashioned myself. I want to see I want to see, say, hey, tell that person I love your work, or to see them sitting there creating the next strip. It's and for you, the way you've already said, you already have that interconnection with your readers off the top. So for you to be at that con where they can actually see you reinforces that bond and reinforces that connection, and you cannot start that kind of connection via the web. It has to be face to face right off the top. Oh, look at the doggy. He's a lab.
Yeah, oh, he's a chocolate lab. All right, buddy. Let's see if I can. Here,
Look, everybody, it's Spencer.
This is Spencer. He is the hero and the main character and the inspiration behind Best in Show.
Aha. How old is he?
He's 10.
Oh my
I started
God.
drawing the comic strip the day I got him.
Oh wow.
Now it's still 10 years.
That is wonderful. He is beautiful. That he is a beautiful dog. So now my question to you is, with your comic, have you thought about expanding the reach? Have you thought about animation?
Oh God! I mean, the whole reason I started a comic strip was to one day see it as a Saturday morning cartoon. That would be amazing. Yeah, I definitely have dreamed about it being animated. You know, I've never, seriously pursued it.
Right.
But if the opportunity arose, if I met the right person at the right time, which seems to be the way it works.
Right.
Fortunate that way. I meet the right person at the right time, and that gets me going in the right
The
direction.
right direction. Well,
see it animated. I mean, I've even dabbled around in GIF animation. Just like tooling Photoshop and making simple animation.
Well,
it's time consuming. Wow.
Well, everything is, yeah. I mean, animation is time consuming. Well, but then the way I also look at it is, in these days and times, what isn't, and speaking with that, and speaking of that, about time, how long, especially with your schedule, how long does it take you to produce one strip?
The average is about an hour.
Okay.
From pencils to colors to lettering, it takes just about an hour.
An hour.
That's
Wow.
not including the concept and writing the concept, because I usually do that when I'm soaking in the tub. Yeah, physically creating it, it's about an hour. And that's only because I work digitally now.
Okay.
Whereas before, when I was working analog and I was using pens and brushes and board, I mean, just the transitioning it into, from the scanner to the Photoshop and cropping and this and that and adjusting the levels, and that was more like 2 hours,
Right.
I have a digital tablet that I work on now, so I'm completely digital, and it just expedites things wonderfully.
Wonderful. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And which makes a lot of sense now, because that is, Wacom, you guys have made the process smoother. So now, where do you see yourself? What position do you see yourself within the next about 2 to 5 years?
With the comic strip?
Yes.
Well, if I continue the trajectory I'm on, I foresee more success. I foresee, an expanding readership. I see more appearances at more widespread comic shows. I foresee increased income streams from different things.
Right.
It's, Dave Kellett, if you're familiar with him, he's one of the the pioneers of webcomics. Dave Kellett and Scott Kurtz. Dave Kellett, he draws a comic strip called Sheldon, and he recently produced a documentary on comic strips called Stripped.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. It was #1 selling item on iTunes when it came out. I mean,
wow.
It's an amazing documentary about the history of comic strips. He said that, success in this, like especially with the webcomics thing, it doesn't come overnight, man.
No.
He scratched and he fought and he one reader at a time, man. It took him 10 years to build up his success
and
to get where he is now. And developing this web model and just experimenting and trying different things, and it took him 10 years for him to get to the level of success. So
Wow.
I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years, but I've honestly been tinkering with it for the first 5.
Okay.
Right? And about 5 years ago, I started getting a little bit more serious about it, keeping myself on a rigid schedule. And the beginning of last year, I transitioned to full color. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do 3 comic strips a week, and they're going to be full color. So I say within 5 years, I might be at a level where I can consider myself moderately successful.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense. And for you aspiring comic book or comic strip creators, if you it's very rare that that an independent comes out of nowhere and does bang up right off the top. Even for Alan Moore and Watchmen, Walking Dead, it's taken them years to get to that point, and so from here, final question here is, where can people find your work, get to your website, and have a good retro laugh back to the 70s?
It would be www.bestinshowcomic.com. There are archives there go back to 2000 and maybe 7.
2007. Okay.
They go back quite a ways.
Okay.
But, they're like I mentioned before, I'm producing a 10th anniversary edition. It's going to be look what you did. Collection. It's going to be a 10th anniversary collection featuring the 10 best comic strips of each year, and like I said, added bonuses like interviews and pinups and narratives, and having a cool idea for a timeline across the bottom of each page, and that'll be available spring 2015. So I hope to have that available for. There's going to be a Wizard World Minneapolis. Okay. That I'm going to be attending, and that's the beginning of May. So I'm going to have that ready for then, and then it'll be up on my website when it's done. And I have a merchandise page at Big Cartel. So if you go to my website and you look at the menu bar across the top above the comic strip, you'll see merchandise. Click on that; it'll take you to my Big Cartel page, and there'll be various items for sale, collections, stickers, original art, stuff like that.
Cool, perfect. And folks, we have been talking to Phil Juliano of Best in Show Comics. Okay, and down there I will have all the necessary links to his Facebook and everything page, and so that way you can go straight to the site and download and read and have a very good laugh. And so we had, and once again, comics is a very huge medium. You just can't pigeonhole into any one area, any one thing. Okay, so keep an open mind and give it a try. Just because you're older doesn't mean that you can't be a kid. You can't. I mean, there's no reason not to. Okay, and remember, this show, I've got a contract, so now I've got to mention them. This has been sponsored by C2E2, coming up in April 24th and the 25th at McCormick Place. So hopefully we'll be there. And if you like what you have seen, if you like what you're hearing, support us. Okay, right now we don't have any funding. Okay, we need equipment to keep the show in some kind of quality condition. Okay, the reason why everything kind of looks good is because we probably put ourselves in hock trying to make certain that the video is nice, the sound sounds nice, buying programs to make certain that the production, we're steady trying to get the production up, so that way our readers and viewers can actually have an enjoyable time looking and watching. So you'll see you'll see where you can like and subscribe. Do so. More importantly, share it with your friends. Share it with people within your circle, because that's how this whole thing grows. Without you all saying, hey, this is what's going on, people like Phil, people like me don't grow. So it's not only us going in front of your face saying, hey, read my stuff. It's also you going to your people and saying, hey, I know this guy who's actually got this stuff that'll take you back to Star Wars right off the top. Okay. And so for now, this concludes this little section of lip service. So once again, do not forget to sit up there, give us a thumbs up, put in a comment, whatever, and follow up with us. And for next up, who knows, a book review, maybe and maybe some more questions, or maybe some more reader responses from the core section of lip service. But for right now, we'll be right back shortly. And don't forget to like and subscribe as many times. Chicago way. Vote early, vote often. We'll be right back.